It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the UMaine Farmington's head softball coach, Coach Alyssa Williamson. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college softball?
Yeah, I think forever, as long as I can remember. Started playing at 7 years old and just developed a passion for it and just knew that that was my calling. And I actually took a job in mental health counseling and realized that while I really enjoyed that, it still wasn't quite my passion like softball is. So this opportunity came up, and I'm just so glad that it did.
What was your experience like going to college and getting to play collegiate softball for Drake Drexel and Mary Mack?
Yeah, they were both really cool experiences. I accepted a full ride scholarship to Drexel University when I was a junior in high school. And when I got there, I'm from small town in Maine, so being in Philadelphia was quite a culture shock for me. Being able to compete at that level was something that not everybody gets to do. So it was a really cool experience. And just being able to be out of my comfort zone was something that I welcomed. I think, Merrimack was definitely the spot for me. I was able to flourish and excel, and I was coached by some amazing coaches and had great teammates, and we had a good run there. So that was definitely the highlight of my collegiate career.
While at both, what was that experience like getting to represent them and putting on that softball uniform for them?
It was a very cool experience. I think, when you put those jerseys on and you are representing the name on the front of it, it's an overwhelmingly amazing experience. I think, being able to be in places where I have never been before, I think that's the beauty of having a passion that's a sport, is it takes you to all different places, and being able to know that at the end of the day, you're still representing your school is something that's really cool.
What were some of your collegiate accomplishments on the playing side?
Yeah, so I went to Scarborough High School. I was a 4-year starter there. I was 4-time All-State, received Gatorade Player of the Year in 2014, as well as Miss Maine softball. So those were just both amazing accolades, and had an absolutely amazing experience playing for Scarborough High School. At Merrimack College, I actually broke my ankle my sophomore year. So I transferred into Merrimack my sophomore year, ended up not being able to compete that season. So I played my junior and my senior year. And in both of those seasons, I was 2-time first team all conference, all region. And then my senior year, I was the Northeast 10 Scholar Athlete of the Year, which was a really cool accolade that I received.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like getting into club coaching and coaching for the Lady Mavericks?
Yeah. So my dad actually, when I was in 8th grade, he opened up this hitting facility called Maine Hits in Maine. He did that just because he shared the passion for softball with me. He wanted to provide me with an opportunity to go and hit whenever I wanted to, even though it's snowing outside. So I spent a lot of time there. I was able to instruct youth athletes, do private one-on-one instruction, and then had the opportunity to coach for the Lady Mavericks, which is an organization within Maine Hits. Just an amazing opportunity to give back to the sport that has given me so much. And so just, being able to be around like-minded people that also enjoy the game was just a really great experience.
For you, what was that feeling like getting that first opportunity to coach on the collegiate level at Sioux Falls?
Yeah, so I was a graduate assistant at Suffolk University. The head coach, Jackie Davis, her and I are still good friends to this day. She gave me that opportunity. I was able to get my master's degree while still being able to coach, and being at the collegiate level for the first time. It was a great experience, and being able to kind of have a mentor like her to guide me through that and give me opportunities to still make the most of the assistant coaching role was really great. And again, just being able to mentor, girls that share the passion for the game like me was a really great experience.
How was that experience like being the assistant coach for Sioux Falls?
Yeah, I think it's a really amazing and just almost humbling experience to go from, playing to coaching. And I think, at the end of the day, it's like we're all still competing and we still want to win, just like, whether we're a player or we're on the other side of it as a coach. So just being able to kind of embrace that experience and evolve over time, going from a player to a coach was really great.
What were some of the things that you learned as assistant coach to then help you to make that jump to become a head coach?
Yeah, I think, time management has always been something that I've taken a lot of pride in, something that I am fortunate enough to have as a skill and have always had. But being able to time manage as an assistant coach versus a head coach is a lot different. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that go on as a head coach. And, Jackie, who is the head coach at Suffolk, really guided me to have that understanding and awareness. So when I took over as the head coach, it was kind of learning the ropes as I go. Absolutely a learning experience, but still having some sort of awareness and understanding from the assistant coaching role was very helpful.
What was that feeling like coming back to the Maine area and getting to become the head coach for UMaine Farmington?
It was the best decision that I could have made. I think, I missed Maine. Massachusetts was great while I was there, but I was ready to come back to my roots and kind of plant my own roots all over again. And so getting that opportunity, and Jamie Bowden, the athletic director here, giving me that opportunity was a really amazing experience and just the start of something great. So coming back was, I think I knew I had a lot of work to do. And at the same time, just embracing that opportunity was something that, I take a lot of pride in as well.
Coming to UMaine Farmington, what was that feeling like stepping onto that softball field for the first time as a head coach?
It was pretty wild thinking about it and looking back on it. I think I thought that I, had it all together and that I knew, what I was going to be getting myself into. And then, of course, we always know that we have to be flexible and we have to adapt. And the view from the field is amazing. So I close my eyes and I think about that and just, embracing everything that comes with being a Beaver. So.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your players?
Yeah, so for me as a head coach, game day definitely starts out with a breakfast sandwich. That's one of my rituals, is having to get a breakfast sandwich before I come to work and prepare for the day. So once I get to work, it's just a lot of, pregame prep, completing the bat list, things like that, getting a lineup put together, but also just mentoring my players and checking in with them and making sure that their head's on right and in the right space that they need to be in order to compete and flourish. So just the preparation that goes into game day is something I think that goes unnoticed a lot of the time just because it's so much behind the scenes. But yeah, it's one of my favorite days to have, that's for sure. And for my players, they, blast their music in the locker room. They love their pregame lunches that they have, whatever it is. It depends on the player. But I think, they put a lot of focus into getting their headspace where it needs to be, as I mentioned before, and just helping them and mentoring them through that. They have such a great time. And so our university is actually set. It's a walking distance to the field, but we have to go through downtown Farmington to get there. And so they start in the locker room here up on campus. They blast their music, they have a good time, and then they all walk through downtown together. They have a massive speaker that they bring down with them. They're blasting music through downtown, walking in their uniforms and their jerseys all the way down to the field. And once they get there, it's just some pregame prep. And then before we know it, it's game time.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you built for UMaine Farmington softball?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things I take most pride in about being a Beaver and being the head coach here is the culture that I have developed alongside my assistant coaches and also the players that have really invested into the vision that I had for this program. When I took over, the culture was, in a decent place, but not quite where it needed to be in order to achieve success on the field. And, it took 3 years to really get us to a place where it truly felt like an environment that everybody was proud of. And so, there was a lot of team bonding, a lot of team building, just a lot of like, what's your why, and really establishing as an individual, why am I here and what am I here to do? And then figuring out as a team, why are we here and what do we need to do? Our identity this year was Team 39. So we're the 39th UMF softball team to come through. So that was kind of our slogan, was Team 39, and just who we are and figuring out, how can we continue creating a culture that we all are really proud of and just happy to be a part of.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against each week?
Yeah, so we're in the North Atlantic Conference, which is a small Division III conference located throughout Maine, New York, Vermont, So Hassan University is usually the top ranked in our conference. They were nationally ranked this past year, went on and hosted regionals after the conference tournament. It's always a pleasure to play against them. You're competing against some of the best of the best. So that's always a fun time. We also have Thomas College, Vermont State, Linden, and then our conference is split up by division. So the New York schools are in their own division. And then we get to compete against them in playoffs. But yeah, we also have UMPI, so UMaine Presque Isle, which is also within the UMaine system, just like we are.
What is that experience like getting to compete against teams like Hudson during your home games?
Yeah, it's a cool experience. Being able to be on our own dirt and to have, the familiar aspect of understanding, like, we know where this ball is going to bounce if it hits right here on the field. Whereas our opponents don't always know that, and they have to learn that might take a bad hop, 9 out of 10 times. So, just the opportunity to host teams like that and to know that we're competing against greatness is really cool. And it also just every pitch, it's making us better too. And I think that that's why we were able to achieve the success that we did this year, because we had the understanding of we're competing against great teams, but we're great too. And just, kind of bridging that gap of that awareness of, we can be just as good as anybody else on any given day because of how hard we have worked.
What is that home game atmosphere like?
The home game atmosphere, we have a lot of community members that, in the Farmington community that come down and support us, which is really awesome. I'm fortunate enough to have amazing families of my girls, and, they will drive 7 hours just to come to a doubleheader on a Tuesday. So that's really cool, just being able to have the support. And truly we're a family, and that extends beyond me and my coaches and the team. It also goes and expands onto the siblings of the girls and their parents and their grandparents. And, we had the most support that we have had since I've took over the program this year, which is really cool. Some of the local youth programs will come and support us, which is really awesome just to have that. And then, being able to give back to them as well is really cool.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate softball, and what do you look at as a head coach in them?
Yeah, so the recruiting process here at UMF, I go out in the summertime and go to not all of them, but a lot of tournaments in the New England area. I was able to expand my recruiting tool belt a little bit by going out to the West Coast over the course of the last few years. Was able to get a recruit from out there too. But I think, it's just letting people know what UMaine Farmington is and what it means to be a Beaver, and, really putting us on the map. I think sometimes we can be overlooked just because we are a small school. And, it's like we have a lot of what other schools have, but I think the difference is, like, you can't be a Beaver anywhere else. And truly you can't be a UMF Beaver anywhere else. So just really selling that is important. And the recruiting process after being seen, at a tournament, typically it's the ongoing communication. The prospective student athletes will come on campus for a visit. They'll get to meet with admissions, go on a tour. We'll usually get lunch together, and then what we do is we walk downtown, and then we walk down to the field. So downtown is a really cute area. We have some mountains in town, which is cool too. And just being on that field and giving them the chance to really embrace that and see what that feels like. And I often ask them, like, how will you know if UMF is the spot for you? And truly it is a feeling, and it's a gut feeling. So just keeping that communication and making sure that they have awareness and understanding of every aspect of UMF, whether it be, the academic side, the athletic side, the community in general. Truly the community here is unmatched. So just giving them the chance to see what that feels like is cool. And what do I look for in PSAs? I think, the biggest thing that I think about is attitude. Attitude is something that changes over time. It evolves over time, depending on what kind of situation you're in, whether you just struck out or whether you hit a home run. But I think at the end of the day, it's the way that you present yourself and the poise that you hold, despite whatever adversity you might be facing. So attitude is a big one. And, I'm a firm believer that energy can sway in a positive or a negative. So just looking for those positive, energetic, enthusiastic athletes that want to come and, yell in the dugout and yell the chants and the cheers and just be a part of it and be a part of something great is another thing that I look for.
What is it like as a head coach getting to see them fall in love with the campus and the softball facility on that official visit?
Just, like instant smile comes to my face when they come to campus and they're just like, this is it. Like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And, it takes a long time to get to that point. Just, thinking about my recruiting process back in the day, it's like, how do you truly know? And just the look on their faces. And, when we reflect after, the official visit and we just chat before they leave. It's just like, so what'd you think? And just hearing them say like, this is it, this is the spot for me, and I want to be a Beaver and I want to be coached by you is a feeling that, you know, I haven't felt before prior to coaching. So
As a head coach, what is it like getting to see those freshmen put on that UMaine Farmington softball jersey for the first time?
It's a really great just feeling that I don't think you can truly relate to it unless you're in the shoes of a coach and seeing them, you know, you recruited them. It's been ongoing communication for years before they actually get to that point. And just seeing them and the pride that they take in putting that on and wearing that Beaver jersey is really special. And I think, you know, they don't truly, right, when you make your commitment, you don't truly know what that 4 years is going to hold for you. But the one constant is softball, and the one constant is your teammates, and the one constant is your coach. And just knowing that as they put that uniform on is pretty cool.
How is it like getting to see those freshmen get to achieve those big milestones in their careers? Like, let's say the first home run versus your seniors achieving those last milestones in their career.
Yeah, just being a part of the ride and the journey with them is a really amazing opportunity for me. I think, you know, just seeing them in their first game and the nerves, and you can feel the nerves, and, you know, I share a lot of those emotions with them. You know, I'm feeling a lot of what they're feeling, and just knowing that like, hey, you got this. I think, you know, and then thinking about, you know, by the time they get to their senior year or even in their junior year, as they know that, you know, senior year is fastly approaching, it's just really cool to watch them evolve over time and just to see all of the milestones that they hit, but then also all of the adversity that they face and then overcome. You know, I think while it's amazing to see them as an athlete, they're human too, and just seeing the growth that they've had as young women is something that's really special.
What is it like getting to see them put on that uniform for the last time and put on their first professional softball uniform or going into coaching?
I think, you know, a lot of my girls aspire to be coaches one day. Some of them are currently coaches at the travel ball level. So, and they have aspirations to coach at a college level someday. And I think, you know, thinking about my transition and when I went from playing to coaching is something that they're going to get to experience someday too. And I think, you know, I'm so proud of all of them before they even hit that point. It's just being a part of this journey and being able to be a small part of their journey is something that's really cool. And then the opportunity to see them give back to softball, just like I do every day, is amazing, just because we share that passion, and sharing a passion for something is a really special bond that you can create with someone. And knowing that it's my players is pretty cool.
What have been some of the biggest coaching accomplishments in your career so far at UMaine Farmington?
Yeah, so this past year was a really great year to be a Beaver. We had the best season that we have ever had in nearly 2 decades. We have 10 freshmen that came on and just made immediate impact from day one. And of course, our vets that have given back to this program for so long, our sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they welcome those freshmen with open arms. And we created this culture and environment that was a positive one, and yet at the same time, like a tough one. You know, we didn't settle for, you know, having a crappy practice, or, you know, we took the reps until we knew that we were satisfied and we knew that we gave enough. So yes, just, it was an incredible year. We made playoffs for the first time in 5 years. I received the North Atlantic Conference Coach of the Year. And I can't thank my assistant coaches and my girls enough for that, because it's their hard work that truly got us to where we were able to get to this year.
What was that experience like as a coach, getting to take your team to the post-game season and going into the playoffs?
That experience was definitely one that I'll remember forever. It was my first time as a head coach bringing a team to playoffs, and the fact that it was Team 39 and being able to, you know, be a Beaver and just do that was pretty special. I mentioned earlier, it's like I share a lot of emotion with them, and, you know, I could feel the nerves. We have so many underclassmen. We only have, you know, 3, 4, 5 upperclassmen, and so. And none of us, not even any of the coaching staff, had been to the postseason. So I think, you know, it was like we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, but we just welcomed the opportunity. We were happy to be there. And I think that the nerves were something that we were all really feeling. So we had that moment of just like, let's all take a breath and really reflect on everything that we've done, and just recognize that like this in and of itself is an accomplishment for Team 39.
What are some of your future plans for the UMaine Farmington softball program moving forward?
Yeah, I think my biggest plan is we're going to compete for a NAC championship someday. Just the opportunity to go back to the postseason and be a part of that is definitely, a goal that we have as Team 40. So I'm really excited for all that's to come for Team 40 and for the Beaver softball program. And I have confidence and faith that we're going to bust our butts and we're going to work really hard to make sure that we do the best that we possibly can.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college softball?
I think the biggest advice that I have is just welcome the discomfort. There's a lot of discomfort that comes with being a freshman in college, right? Let alone playing and competing at the college level. You're in a new place. You don't know anybody. You haven't competed at this level before. And so it's a lot of discomfort. And I think, when we sit with that discomfort and we allow it, we develop comfort in everything that we do. And so I think just facing that adversity and understanding that like you're going to get to that place someday where you're comfortable with every aspect of this. And the only way to do that is to enjoy the ride and just feel the discomfort.
What advice would you give those college softball players looking to play professional softball, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the MPF, or overseas, or for the US?
Yeah, I think, biggest piece of advice would just be to keep on grinding and just to keep on enjoying the journey. I think that, one of my favorite quotes is find joy in the journey. And the only way that you're going to get to where you want to be someday at the top level that you can compete at is if you just enjoy every part of the journey that gets you there. Just keep working hard and just know that if you have faith in it, it can be.
What advice would you have those assistant coaches getting started in coaching at college softball?
Yeah, I think, especially being in those shoes and being in those shoes not too long ago, I think just be flexible, be willing to adapt, and also just know that every plan that you have, it's probably going to go different than how you foresee it going. So I think my biggest piece of advice would be to, again, find joy in that journey, but also understand that you got to adapt and be flexible every day.
What advices would you give those head coaches looking to build their own softball program?
I think that, what comes to mind for me is the relationship building. That was something that we worked really, really hard at the last couple of years. And I think it was really hard in those moments to see the progress that was being made. And, of course, in the game of softball and in sports in general, the progress and seeing it is what you need in order to say, like, I achieved something. So I think just understanding that while the progress may not be visible, it's there. And just as long as you're focusing on creating a positive environment with positive human beings that share the same passion for you, the progress will come in time.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the UMass Farmington softball program at?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, UMF Softball. I'm on Instagram, Alyssa Williamson 28. And then I'm also on Facebook, and so is UMF Softball. I'm UMaine Farmington Softball on Facebook.
Thank you again, Coach Alyssa Williamson, for your interview, and best luck in your future at UMaine Farmington.
Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Alyssa Williamson, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thanks, Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.